going through your mind as you toured that devastation of the last couple of days?
That, frankly, it reminded me of visiting war zones, seeing that kind of devastation, just house after house, block after block. We've had no shortage of fires in Southern California over the years that I've been in Congress. It has often been very idiosyncratic. You'll see one house lost here, then the others fine around it. There is some of that here, but there are whole neighborhoods that are gone. In talking to residents, so many who lost everything, they've told me how their house is gone, their neighbors are gone, their church is gone, their store is gone. It's all gone. We haven't seen that before, not in Southern California, not like this. And so the heartbreak is just overwhelming. I want to also say I've gotten to see what these firefighters are doing with these hurricane force winds and just working hour after hour. One described to me how there were flames in front of him and flames behind him, how the water was running low, communications equipment going out, and he didn't know if he was going to make it. He said it was the closest thing to hell that he could imagine. So hats off to these firefighters and the extraordinary job they're doing.
Well, let me ask you the question that the FEMA administrator could not answer, and that is, why is it that officials in Los Angeles, that officials in the state of California have not requested active duty military assistance that has been offered by the Pentagon? Why are those resources still just on standby?
Jonathan, the only thing I've heard on that specific subject is, and the FEMA administration alluded to this, that we have gotten a great deal of mutual aid from all over the state, all over the country, indeed other countries, and the air is pretty crowded with aircraft, and it's simply not safe to have more aircraft in the air. It may also have to do with the logistics of making sure those aircraft have the water they need. So I don't know the complete answer. I will say this, Jonathan. The governor's called for an independent review of why we didn't have enough water in places like the Palisades. There were also water pressure issues in Altadena. I support that independent review. I think we should go further and, frankly, do an independent commission review of all of this. What went right in our response, what went wrong in it. I'm deeply concerned about these erroneous alerts, these erroneous evacuation alerts that have gone out. If people can't trust when they're told you need to get out, that they do need to get out, then it not only severely impacts the whole effort, but people ignore the alerts, endangering themselves and endangering the firefighters that have to step between the fires and these civilians. So there's a lot we need to get through. I think we need an independent commission to look at all of it. And beyond that, Jonathan, we're going to need to rebuild, and with a sense of urgency. We need cleanup operations when the flames are out. We need the rebuilding to go forward. We can't have local bureaucratic delay. We need to bring a sense of urgency to this. But the most urgency right now has to be reserved to putting down these flames. We have more high winds coming up in the next couple days. So for now, let's focus on putting out these fires, saving lives, saving property, and then let's do the full analysis of what went wrong.
The governor has ordered that investigation into the water. Clearly, that was a factor here. What, in your talk with first responders, with local officials, what's your understanding? Why did so many of those fire hydrants simply run dry? Was there something to do with that 117 million gallon reservoir in the Palisades that was out of operation? What's your understanding? What's your initial read on this?
Well, my initial take, and I certainly want a full review of this so that I can form a more complete understanding of the matter. But my initial understanding is the reservoirs that the Palisades were drawing on, these 3 million gallon reservoirs, were full at the initiation of these fires. But they're intended, frankly, they have the capacity to put out homes at maybe a house, multiple houses, not if the whole town is up in flames, and most particularly not if the winds are so strong that aircraft can't fly. And this was the problem in the very beginning. The winds were hurricane force, up to 100 miles an hour winds. You can't fly in that, and you depend on being able to do water drops to put down those kind of flames. I have to think there are probably hundreds of towns in California, thousands and thousands across the country that are in equally the same position, that if they had 100-mile-an-hour winds and a lot of dry fuel, they wouldn't have any more water than this community did. We also had the problem that pipes were melting. And so you had houses burning down, the pipes in those houses melting, water coming out of those pipes, reducing pressure. I think this was an issue in the Altadena fire. And so we're going to have to get to the bottom of this.
And let me ask you,
frankly, a lot of other things.
We're really at time. Yeah. We have to let you go, but very quickly, how important is it for incoming President Donald Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom to be able to work on this? There's been a lot of really heated rhetoric between those two, of course, especially coming from President-elect Trump. How important is it for them to work together on this?
Look, it's going to be really important for the incoming president to work with all of us in California to make sure that we get the resources we need to put out these flames, if there are any still burning when he takes office, to get the relief to get back on our feet. And I'll tell you this, Jonathan, I've been in Congress a long time approving aid after disasters. I never once even considered, is this hurricane hitting a red state or a blue state? What about this flood? What about this fire? It has never mattered to me.
For sure.
We're all in this together. It's the United States of America. We need the incoming president to view it that way. We're ready to work with the president to make sure that we have no gap, no air between us when it comes to making sure that we help victims get back on their feet and help California rebuild.
All right, Senator Schiff, thank you very much for spending some time with us this morning. Up next, how will the Republican-controlled Congress respond to the devastation in California?